Good morning, everybody. As you know, my name's Sinead, and the topic of my presentation today is, are professional athletes overpaid? Now, before I begin, I'd like to give you a definition of professional athlete. The Legal Information Institute defines professional athlete as any sports person who participates in his or her sport as a vocation. Now, vocation means as a job. In this presentation, I'll also refer to professional athletes as sports stars and pro athlete. All right, I want you to think about which sports stars have earned the most money this year. Any guesses? Over here. Tiger Woods? Okay. Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo? Okay, all right, good guesses, but not correct. According to Forbes magazine, here are the top 5 earners this year. Okay, also Cristiano Ronaldo is in there. Have a look at number 1, Floyd Mayweather. What does he do? What's his sport? Yeah, boxer. Okay, and I want you to guess how much money has he earned this year? Okay, actually a little bit more. $300 million. Okay, does anybody think that that's too much money? Raise your hand. Okay, about half and half. All right, interesting. Okay, so the purpose of my presentation today is to present both sides of the argument and also to give you my opinion. My presentation's divided into 3 parts. Firstly, I'll talk about the supporting arguments. Secondly, I'll give you the opposing arguments. And thirdly, I'll summarize and give you my opinion. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer at the end. Now, I'm going to discuss the supporting arguments. Some people believe that professional athletes are overpaid because they have limited economic or social value. I'm going to show you some examples from the USA. So if you look here, we have the president, we have a doctor, and we have a teacher. Now, if you compare their salaries to the salary of a professional basketball player, you can see that there's a huge gap. Now, some people think that that's wrong because these jobs here benefit society, whereas it could be argued that a basketball player doesn't. Proponents of this argument would also say that billions of dollars are wasted on sport every year, and that this money would be better used to solve problems like poverty, illness, such as a cure for cancer, or housing the millions of homeless people every year. Let's leave our discussion of the supporting arguments there. Now, let's turn our attention to the opposing arguments. So many people believe that sports stars are not overpaid because they have a short career span. According to Gaines, an NBA player has an average career span of just under 5 years. So that's a short career span, so they deserve to be paid well for that time. Secondly, sports stars make a lot of sacrifices. For example, they're at a much higher risk of injury or even death than other professions. For example, does anybody know what happened to the Australian cricket player Phil Hughes? Yeah, that's right. A cricket ball hit him in the back of the head and he unfortunately died. So it could be argued that pro athletes deserve this money because they're at a much higher risk than other jobs. Furthermore, Schiavone states that the average WWE wrestler is away from home for about 200 days a year. Therefore, that impacts on their family and their relationships, so they deserve to be paid for that. Thirdly, people might say that sports stars deserve their salaries because of economics. The public demand and pay for sports as entertainment. Sports companies, such as the NBA, make a lot of money each year. For example, the NBA earned just under $5 billion last year, according to Plunkett Research. Therefore, the athletes deserve a fair share of this money. So that concludes our look at the opposing arguments. To conclude, let's recap. On the one hand, it could be argued that sports stars are overpaid because they don't benefit society, and the money they earn would be better spent on other things like poverty and homelessness. On the other hand, it could also be argued that pro athletes aren't overpaid because they have short careers, they make huge sacrifices, and they deserve a share of the sport's revenue. In my opinion, sports stars aren't overpaid because the athletes are the product and they're entitled to a share. I'm going to finish with a quote by Hutchins. He said that in Australia, sport connects people who are not connected by things like history, community, and culture. So sport is seen as the transcender, the unifier, and the healer of difference. This quote shows that sport brings a nation together. Therefore, sports stars are really important figures, and they deserve their salaries. Thank you for listening today. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer now.